Welcome to the studio tonight, Mr. Matt Moscona, live on Financial Fitness, a true radio juggernaut here in Baton Rouge in the Louisiana area. Matt, thank you for coming on with me tonight. I appreciate you being here.
Brandon, my pleasure, man. Thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. Look, it's not often that we get somebody who's obviously got way more radio experience and talent than I do. So it's always good to learn from the great ones.
Bro, all you got to do is just ask. Bro.
They say learn from the greats, and that's what you need to do. So
it's very kind of you to invite me, and I'm more so pumped to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yes.
Because sometimes like when you do radio every day professionally, like you're somewhat pigeonholed, right? Like I do sports talk, so every day it's going to be LSU Saints. And I love those teams.
Right.
I love talking about it. But man, there's things I love outside of sports too.
Yes.
So you get pretty jazzed when you get to talk about something other than just what you talk about every day.
Absolutely. And guys, the reason I have Matt here, Matt is part of the board with GameCoin, and you guys who listen to my show regularly know Financial Fitness, we're all about health and wealth and enriching our audience, and we always do a local business spotlight. And ironically, now we have a cryptocurrency homegrown right here in our backyard in Baton Rouge. And I know there's over 1 million people who've said, "Man, I wish I knew about Bitcoin." When didn't even know what a Bitcoin was. Most people still don't understand what cryptocurrency is.
Yeah.
So, I feel it's an opportunity. Again, this is just us talking here, not financial advisors, but we have an inside opportunity here in Baton Rouge. Again, do your research and make your own investments, talk to whoever you want, but you guys have an opportunity with a locally started crypto here in Baton Rouge. So
yeah.
It is kind of an inside scoop, and I know there's some exciting news. So you've been with these guys pretty much since the beginning, kind of seeing what's going on, what they're developing, and what they're building at GameCoin.
So not exactly.
Okay.
So what's interesting about GameCoin is it's only about 4 months old.
Mm-hmm.
It is brand new.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I am into crypto. I kind of had my light bulb aha moment with crypto a little more than a year ago and started making some very measured strategic investments in some very stable projects like Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano. For those that are familiar with crypto, if not, that's okay. Well,
yeah, that's where most of mine was too.
Yeah. So Brandon, GameCoin popped up on my radar as a sports guy when a college name, image, and likeness went live over the summer.
Yes.
And there's a local business called Matchpoint, which is an app created to match athletes with businesses. So think of it like the very high-profile athletes are going to be approached. But what if you're the offensive guard and maybe aren't going to have great opportunities? Well, you go on a Matchpoint. It could match an athlete with a project,
right? And
then maybe you can make an offer or a bid, and that way they could do an endorsement, so marketing deal.
Yeah.
Well, I was on Matchpoint the first day it launched because obviously for my job I'm interested in what's going on there. And I saw GameCoin was matching with athletes. I'm like, what is GameCoin? I mean, I knew about crypto. I'm like, what is GameCoin?
Yeah.
So I just kind of ignored it. About a month later, within about a 24-hour span, I had 4 different people say, "Hey, you're into crypto. Have you heard of GameCoin?" And once that many people started asking me about it, I was like, all right, I need to learn more.
Yeah.
So I sought out the owner or the founder, Dave Mailer, went and had lunch with him, asked him a ton of questions, loved the project. So then I invested in it. And so full disclosure, I'm all about disclosure. About 3 weeks ago, they did ask me to sit on their advisory board, which is a great honor, and I'm happy to do that. But they have given me nothing. Like I haven't been given any coin. I haven't been given any equity into the business. Everything that I'm in is my own personal investment.
Yeah.
But once you're invested in it, obviously you have a great vested interest in seeing it grow, and the project is so exciting, man. Especially, what I think that this project is going to mean for athletes of all ages and skill levels, what it's going to mean for the Baton Rouge community, and what they're doing with the charitable component. I know we'll discuss that too, but it's incredible.
Well, and so a lot of common questions. That's why I wanted you here tonight, because there's been a lot of skepticism. Obviously, it's a new crypto. What is the skepticism there, and how do you address that?
Well, because crypto is still so new that I think there's a lot of there can be ambiguity, and quite honestly, there have been rug pulls in crypto. There are pump and dumps. But you don't just see that in crypto; you see that in the traditional market as well. I mean, look at what we saw this summer with GameStop and AMC.
Right.
That there have been those types of projects where people collectively have gotten together either on subreddits or on TikTok and decided they were going to artificially inflate a project and then pull their money out and leave somebody holding the bag. And I think when something new pops up and it grows as quickly as GameCoin has, I think that was the concern of some. For me, I'll tell you where that was alleviated, Brandon, is I actually get to meet the people who developed it.
Yeah.
I know the people who are invested in it. I know a lot of the other members of the board. And this is all going to be disclosed publicly in very short order, but I think consumer confidence is only going to continue to grow whenever you see the people who are behind it.
That's what I've seen, and same here. Like knowing all the who's who in town, and knowing personally everyone that I'm friends with, and who's surrounding this, that's put large sums of money in as buy-ins. I mean, these guys are investing just like any stock or any crypto. So again, none of us are paid. None of us are affiliated with GameCoin as an employee or anything like that. We bought in. We saw an opportunity, and that's what we're sharing with the public now. Is kind of getting that out there. To also, you mentioned the NIL with athletes. That was a big thing. And what is an NFT, and how can these kids monetize? How can these kids make money with that?
Well, I'm trying not to go too deep into the weeds, because when you start delving into blockchain technology, it can be confusing. But an NFT is a non-fungible token. So if there's a fungible asset, it means its value can be recreated. You have $1, I have $1. We can trade dollars, and neither has gained or lost anything, right? $1 is $1. If you have one, I have one, he has one, whatever. If something is non-fungible, its value can't be recreated. The example I always give is the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is non-fungible. You can take a picture of it, you could scan it, you could paint another, you could copy it. It's never going to be as valuable as the Mona Lisa. That is non-fungible. Its value cannot be recreated.
It's a one of a kind.
Or
one of a series.
Sure, exactly. So think about trading cards, for example.
Yeah, when we grew up, it's baseball cards.
Or like a Honus Wagner.
Yep.
A Honus Wagner, it's non-fungible. If you have one of those, you can't create new Honus Wagner cards that are going to have that same value. So a non-fungible token is an asset on the blockchain that is non-fungible, where it has value that can't be recreated. So, the idea with GameCoin, the project itself, which is, what's so wild about this, Brandon, is, GameCoin, the project, that's going to be, it hasn't even launched yet. It's still
infant stages.
It's so brand new, which is why this is exciting, because so many people have heard about this and they've got it. It makes sense. Effectively, think of it this way: any athlete 9 years old, a Tom Brady, will have their own digital asset. Mm-hmm. The way that I explain it sometimes to people, well, what do you do with it? Do you remember when, you and I are about the same age, when we were kids and we played baseball and you had picture day, and then you get your pictures taken, and your parents would buy the wallet, it was like your own card, and you give it to their family, and they put it in the little wallet pouch, right?
Exactly.
Well, do you even carry a wallet anymore? Does anybody put wallet photos in? You know what everyone is going to do? Everyone's going to have everything they carry, every asset on their phone.
Yeah.
And in your digital wallet, you have a placeholder for collectibles. So you can put NFTs, imagine if your son, had his own token, and all his buddies in school, they wanted to trade their own tokens, right? Whenever that time comes, every time those transactions happen, he's gaining more either revenue, or if they're young and they're amateur athletes, the opportunity to gain equity within the project, to trade in for gear. And the whole idea, that Dave Mailer, who founded it, had was we want to make sure that every youth athlete had the same opportunities that his kids have now, that he maybe didn't have growing up.
Right.
No kid should not be able to play football because they can't afford cleats or something like
that's a terrible thing. I look at the opportunities my kids have, and it's night and day from what I had.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, I said, guys, I wish I could have had the coaching and the experience that you guys are having. So to give that to the youth, and we've got about a minute left before the break. So we'll talk more about like the charities and the things that are opening up as a result of GameCoin, and how it's going to benefit youth athletics and some of the underserved communities and that sort of thing with it, because I think that's where it really hit for me. And then also seeing, of course, an investment opportunity, but the overall platform does a lot of good. And we'll touch on that after this short commercial break. So we welcome you guys to stay tuned to Financial Fitness. We're in here with Matt Moscona, and we're talking GameCoin today. Welcome back. Second segment, Financial Fitness. We're talking GameCoin with my man Matt Moscona. And if you were listening to the first segment, we were talking about the NFTs and how this will apply to the NILs for kids and sports and young athletes, where they can monetize their tokens. And again, you see athletes now, like I got approached on some young athletes, like you said, they're not the biggest name guys, but for a local business like myself, I could pay them $200 or what have you, and they'll promote you. And that's good money for a kid in school, just for a little side revenue, and pay for his necessities and things. And of course, you can do that for multiple businesses. So, how's the NIL work with this? College athletes can partake in this.
You're already seeing a lot of ambassador athletes who have joined GameCoin. Some that are really familiar locally here, like Keishon Butte and Miles Brennan, who obviously had some big news today. But it's not even just amateur athletes; it's pro athletes as well. Which GameCoin really does touch athletes of any age. We talked about youth sports a bit ago. You mentioned how it could be impactful for NIL purposes for college athletes to be able to have their own digital asset that they can monetize. And then the other part of it too is, professional athletes. We maybe don't think of this in these terms sometimes, but the percentage of professional athletes that are marketable, it's very low. Usually, like in football, it's quarterbacks, really. And outside of that, it's very few.
Yeah, few prolific receivers that a household name. That's it.
So this is an opportunity also where there's a defensive end from Oregon named Kayvon Thibodeau, and he might be the first pick in this year's NFL draft. And he just recently announced that he's developing his own token, his own cryptocurrency.
Which heard about that.
He's at Oregon, Nike, Phil Knight, whoever his agency is repping him, maybe bankrolling that. But Brandon, if someone wanted to launch their own crypto,
it's millions of dollars.
You're talking about a 7-figure upfront investment. Not every athlete, even pro athletes, have that or are going to be willing to invest it. So one of the great appeals...
And the support team, it's not just a simple thing of, I want to start a crypto. I mean, there is a ton of research and time that goes into that. That's why there's only a few that are approved, and now, getting bigger approvals too. So
think about, if I was thinking of a comp, if you're an athlete and you wanted to start your own podcast or your own YouTube channel, great. Well, YouTube is an existing platform where you go have your content hosted.
Yeah.
As opposed to trying to build your own platform, which would be very expensive and the promotion, everything. It's similar here. Could a Kayvon Thibodeau, could a Tom Brady create their own token? Yes. But that's such a small percentage.
You need to focus on football.
That are going to that are even going to be able to financially afford to do something like that and have the notoriety to ramp it up. This GameCoin is something that will be able to touch anybody, any athlete in any sport around the world, which is really exciting. There's a professional mixed martial artist fighter from Australia. She's a female mixed martial artist who's an ambassador athlete for GameCoin. So even branching into female sports and
other
things
countries
in other countries and MMA. I keep going back, man. It's started right here in Baton Rouge. It's only 4 months old.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, no, and so what charities does GameCoin donate to? Because I know there was some big news this weekend as well. So with the sports and these youth athletes. So what charities are they and how do they get the money to these underprivileged athletes?
So whenever that the charitable component is a massive part of what drives GameCoin. So every transaction, anytime when you went and bought GameCoin, when I bought GameCoin, there's a transaction fee. Right. And so today's a really exciting day, actually, because today was at 1 o'clock today began the transition from GME to GMEX, GameCoin 2.0.
It's moving so fast. I gotta get. I'm gonna put an X on my. I'm gonna get a black Sharpie.
Yeah, they add the X.
But that's gonna be perfect. It just shows how fast things move.
But there is a 7% with GMEX, a 7% transaction fee. So every time GameCoin is bought or sold, there'll be a 7% fee. 5% goes to charity. 2% goes back to the wallet holder. So in time. Every time there's a transaction, you're going to gain coin in your wallet.
My balance going up.
So your balance goes up. So in time, you're going to recoup the coin for that transaction fee anyway. But the real key is that 5% that's going to go to charity. And man, in 4 months, they've already raised, just from transaction fees, more than $2 million for charity.
Yeah.
It's insane. So the first donations they made were $100,000 to Central Lafourche High, $100,000 to South Lafourche, post-Hurricane Ida, to help their sports teams recover.
Wow.
We donated $50,000 to the St. Charles Recreational Department to help rebuild the parks for the youth leagues around St. Charles Parish. And what you were referring to is Friday night.
The best dressed ball. I dropped the hammer over there.
At the Baton Rouge Best Dressed Ball, David Mailer was there, and he announced a $1 million donation from the GameCoin board to the American Cancer Society. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, that's not a youth sports foundation. It's true, but this didn't come from the charity wallet, from those transaction fees.
Right.
This came from the board members' wallets, from the GameCoin board members' wallets that's going to be donated to the American Cancer Society.
And I lost my father to cancer, so that was something that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
And like most people out there, sadly, a lot of us most families have lost somebody to cancer.
Everybody's been touched by cancer.
So that $1 million donation, when I saw that hit, I shared that because that was something amazing that I was really proud to share that and make sure people know that, and some of the skeptics and all that, would kind of cast a little doubt about the charity. I was like, well, here it is, live in person. They just dropped $1 million at the Best Dress Ball for charity.
Brandon, I don't fault people for their skepticism. I think skepticism is healthy. You should ask questions, and you should do your own research and gain your own information. I know the focus for the GameCoin advisory board, from the founders, is to continue through the action and the execution of this project, to continue to answer all those questions and continue to build consumer confidence and have people understand what this is, what the mission is, who's behind it, and where it's going. And all that stuff is just, look, man, even if you know nothing about cryptocurrency or don't even have any interest in it, anybody can get behind. I had somebody tell me that they were at Best Dress Ball. This was a person who does own crypto, and this person said to me, my wife doesn't know anything about crypto, but she saw that donation. She said, I want to buy GameCoin because I feel like I'm supporting something good. And I think that's something that we're going to hear more and more of.
Yeah. And so, like you mentioned about GMEX, big move today.
Yeah.
Some people might have been a little scared when they saw their GameCoin balance because GameCoin GME is moving to GMEX and moving to Bitmart.
Yeah.
So tell our listeners who aren't crypto people, going from, and I had probably 100 people that want to buy it. And every one of them that didn't do it already, it was because of the complexity and the multiple steps and the multiple different crypto platforms that you had to go through. Now going to Bitmart, how's that process going to improve, and what does that mean to go to Bitmart and be on a bigger platform?
So just to clarify too, Bitmart isn't live yet, and that announcement, I know they announced that coming in Q4 that GameCoin will be live on Bitmart, and that's going to be very exciting whenever it does launch, because it's going to remove a giant obstacle which you just described. Because when cryptocurrencies, typically with new cryptos and crypto assets, when you have fewer than 5,000 wallet holders, it's just very hard to purchase. You're associated, attached to a different smart chain, and I don't need to go into all the details, but you can understand why it's complex. It's almost like in the early days of the internet with dial-up internet connection.
Yeah.
How you had to get the CD and put it in the tray, and nobody could be on the phone, right? Like,
hang up the phone.
Right. It's kind of like that. And moving to a platform like Bitmart just makes it so much more accessible, because then you can download the Bitmart app, you can plug in a credit card or whatever method of payment, and you'll be able to buy GameCoin on that exchange. So it'll just be much easier for people to be able to transact when it's accepted by more mainstream exchanges. But there's a big proof of concept that has to go to be accepted on those mainstream exchanges. So I'll repeat it, the fact that it's happened so quickly for GameCoin is really exciting.
Yeah, I saw, Shiba and some of those other cryptos that were started a year or more ago, and they haven't moved as quickly in value.
Nothing has.
And what's the projections? Where do you guys, or where do people see GameCoin going? I know it went from a fraction of a penny. Some of us got in well under a penny, and now it had hit almost 4 cents the other day. It's in the 3 cent range right now, 3.5 cents. Where do people see it going?
I wish I could answer that question. It's not a cop out, but for the same reason what you just described, when something like Shiba or other cryptos take as long as they do to develop the type of market cap and the number of wallet holders, when I say it's unprecedented, I mean this in a very literal sense, Brandon. Like, GameCoin's market cap has exceeded $2 billion with around 6,000 wallet holders. In a typical, air quotes, crypto project, I'm going to give you a big range here, but typically you'll see projects exceed a 1 billion in market cap when they reach 50 to 100,000 wallet holders. Mm-hmm. GameCoin is at a $2 billion market cap with 6,000 wallet holders.
And most of those are local people here who knew about it.
So that's the point. It's mostly a Baton Rouge cryptocurrency that has had amazing adoption and growth that has gotten the attention of people all over the country and the world in crypto markets going, what is going on with this thing?
Absolutely.
And it just keeps growing. It just keeps getting more and more exciting.
And like you mentioned, the pro athletes, I think that's going to have a lot of good market effect too, because they have such a large audience. And some friends of mine that are not, they're almost anti-crypto people. Mm-hmm. And you and I know one, and they work close with the NFL, but they were meeting with GameCoin, even though these were guys who told their players that we don't buy crypto. Mm-hmm. But they're all about GameCoin because they see the NFT platform and they see the whole other side of it for the players and the athletes and what value it had there. And so it was really funny to see that 180 by some people you and I know that do not do crypto, but they're all about GameCoin. And so that was a really interesting take from seeing someone who went from, oh no, I'm not not interested, to the next time I'm like, oh, they're meeting with GameCoin. How ironic.
Everybody, I had my aha moment, my light switch moment, and at some point everyone will, in the same way that people 25 years ago who thought the internet was a fad, now we all like. If our internet goes out, we lose our minds. What are we going to do without the internet for an hour? You know what I mean? It's crypto assets, blockchain technology is Web 3.0. Web 1.0 was search engines. 2.0 is social media, how we all interact with each other on the internet. Web 3.0 is blockchain technology. This is going to be as fundamental a part of our daily lives as checking email on your phone. Yeah. It's just the way that this is going to be.
Excellent, excellent. We're going to take a short commercial break here, and we'll be back with Matt Moscona, and we'll be talking more GameCoin here on Financial Fitness. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are going into the second half of the show here. We're talking GameCoin on Financial Fitness. Matt Moscona staying in studio with us. Appreciate your time this evening.
Man. My pleasure.
And we had some questions during the break on Facebook Live. And I want to welcome our listeners to call in. 225-343-2424. That number again, 225-343-2424. If you have a question for Matt or myself.
We have to get you some headphones so you can hear the callers.
That's it. I got the best radio guy in the building right here.
This is also true.
He'll probably be the one fielding the question anyway. So we were touching on the big move going to GMEX now. So is it still going to be on the same platforms? And then the Bitmart move. What is that next move? I know that's Q4, which we're in now. So what are we looking at there?
So I'm not at liberty to disclose timeline. That's a decision that'll be made above my head.
Above your pay grade.
And my pay grade
Since
is
you're unpaid.
My pay grade is zero. I, like we said, transparency is very important. But what I can tell you is, along with the big news today with the move from Gamecoin from GME to GMEX, which is the new smart contract implementation, it was very important for the founders and for the board to take a very calculated approach with how to roll that out. It could have been done sooner, but wanted to make sure that everything was complete.
Yeah.
So there was, for example, on Friday at 1 o'clock, a 72-hour countdown started on the website. And the idea was, okay, let's give everybody within this community the idea to understand there is a countdown to something big that's going to happen. Understand not everybody into Gamecoin understands fully smart contracts and crypto, but the idea, and then on the website, it was very thoughtful about how it was organized with FAQs, etc., to let everyone have access to all the information they would need about what transpired today.
Yeah.
Which was your Gamecoin, your GME in your wallet went to zero.
Right. Caused a little panic for some folks. I have my son invested in it, and he texts me, "What happened?"
What happened is exactly what we said was going to happen, and why there was that countdown, to let people know that even if you didn't fully understand, something big was coming.
Yeah.
Because if that had just happened, right? If what happened today had just happened, people would have freaked out. Some people still did. My phone blew up for some.
My son texted you.
Yeah, he did for much of the afternoon, but effectively, all of the liquidity in GME is now moving into the GMEX smart contract.
Right.
Into
because,
that platform.
What people don't realize who aren't, the cost of the transactions now, too, as a buyer or seller, went down.
Mm-hmm. That fee went from, that's what we were explaining earlier, was from 10% to 7%.
So that's a good thing for everyone. And the charitable donation part, actually, it went up. It went from 4%
to 5%.
Yeah, so win-win all around as far as that. So your fees went down and more money's going to charity. So I dig that on both angles.
That was a big part of it. And there's some other things that are just kind of technical that when you're talking about thousands of lines of code, I don't think we need to go too deep into the weeds with, but effectively, a big part of it, of GMEX and the new smart contract, was being in compliance to allow the coin to continue to grow to other platforms. And instead of rushing ahead now, it was, hey, let's take our time, do this so it will allow us to grow through other platforms, so we don't have to do this again. When you go to, and then again, it's let's build this new smart contract that's going to be able to carry this thing for a long time.
Right.
I try to explain to people almost like a software update on your phone. And so you cannot buy Gamecoin right now. There's a 72-hour period which started at 1 o'clock today, and it'll end. The freeze will end at 1 o'clock on Thursday. And then GMEX will be live. So everyone who, this is important if you don't mind me just saying this.
Yeah.
Everyone who currently holds Gamecoin, your Gamecoin didn't go away. You didn't lose what you had. Everybody is going to be airdropped new tokens. So your GME tokens, those were screenshotted, and you will be airdropped that exact number of tokens of GMEX. And then at 1 o'clock on Thursday, you'll be able to see the value of GMEX, and all the liquidity will have been moved over. So it's going to be worth the same amount that hopefully more people will get excited by, and the price pumps. But that's, I think it's important to note for people. Like nothing happened today. You didn't lose your value. You didn't. We're moving to a new smart contract, and that's exciting.
And GMEX, is it on some of the bigger viewing platforms and stuff?
You're still going to view it the same way.
The process is still the same for the moment.
Correct. And then when Bitmart rolls out, that'll be an exchange. And look, Brandon, the hope is that one day we see Gamecoin on crypto.com
Crypto.com,
and
right.
Coinbase and every other
the
platform.
big-
Yeah,
the
I
big-
mean that's
the big ones.
And that's, I know that's everybody's goal, and the people that are setting this in motion are doing so in a very measured, very thoughtful way to make this happen. That everybody's gonna be very happy as it grows.
Yeah. Like I said, I've had a lot of people on the sideline only because they're not techie.
Yeah.
And they, like myself, probably lack some patience. I'm not a patient person. So when I first set it up, of course, it was, and you and Todd and some people close to everyone were very helpful and walked me through it. And now I've been able to walk some friends and people in. We have a mutual friend.
Yep.
He texted me that. He's like, I'm up to almost 4 million. Like, so I was like, oh, you bought in big, because like we met for lunch and he put like 10 grand in there. Then I showed him we did the first 10 grand buy over lunch, and then he texted me like a day or two later, and apparently he went in another 100 grand.
Good for him.
So we're seeing, and when, like you said, every buy, every sell is monitored on the apps, and you can monitor and see every transaction as it happens. It's actually amazing to me at how detailed everything is. I can see all 5 of my buy-ins, and each buy-in I can also see what that particular buy is worth. Of course, I wish, like we all wish, we'd have put all the money on the first buy-in. The first buy-in, I look at it and I'm like, that one's nice. But the follow-ups are still all very, very nice as they grow. So, like, I bought my son in.
Right.
And so he can watch his own, and I can see exactly when he bought in. So, everything, like you said, is closely monitored and visible.
Yeah.
And you can buy or sell at any time. That's the thing, too, I think a lot of people don't realize. So, if you made some money and you want to get out early, it's just like at the blackjack table. You can cash your chips in anytime you want.
That's probably the question I get asked the most. I get asked probably 2 questions the most with GameCoin. I get asked, did I miss it? Is it too late? Mm-hmm. And what I tell people all the time is, the boat is still tethered to the dock. The project hasn't even launched yet. The seats are filling up on the boat. It's not as good today as it was yesterday. It wasn't as good yesterday as it was a month before, right?
Right.
But when you're talking about a project that's at between 3 and 3.5 cents, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I don't know where it actually stopped at the freeze. But for what the potential is, it's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you may not see the parabolic gains that your friends had that got in 2 months ago that bought it. You know what I mean? And that's exciting. But as far as listen, like you mentioned earlier, I think you were very measured to do this. I'm not an investment guy. I don't give financial advice.
Right.
If people ask me about this project, I do my best to answer questions I feel comfortable doing. But I believe very much in the long term of this project and what it's going to be. That's one that I get. And the other is, how do I get my money out? That's the other one I get all the time. Which you can do at any point. And I have a buddy who keeps saying, "Oh, you got all that computer money." I'm like, "No, it's real money. You can sell your tokens for fiat currency on these exchanges,
and deposit it right back in your bank account.
Deposit right back in your bank account."
Yeah.
So crypto is exciting, and crypto was born out of the financial crisis of 2008, and while the initial,
if we'd have all bought it then, we'd be retired right now. So.
Yeah, you're right.
I think we have a commercial break, and we'll be back. You guys stay tuned for our final segment here, Financial Fitness. Welcome back. We are in our final segment here, Financial Fitness with Matt Moscona, and talking GameCoin. I know how excited Matt gets about this topic because when we were talking earlier today, Matt was only going to be on for the first half of the show. He's going to close the show with us. So I know how dedicated Matt is to this project and answering questions, and also how excited you are about it because how quickly this hour has flown by. and talking, everything going on with the project, things that I've seen personally that got me excited, was, like you said, the benefit to the players and youth athletes, because I grew up very poor. And being that I made all the mistakes in the world, I didn't have my dad around a lot of my younger years, and we didn't go to the good schools, we didn't have the good coaching, we didn't have exposure to any of this stuff. So now those kids in underprivileged schools, or schools that were just destroyed by the hurricane, these guys are donating to that and helping those kids to get those opportunities for better coaching, better facilities, and better equipment. Like, again, a pair of Nike cleats is $150.
Yeah.
Not every person can afford that.
Yeah. One of the donations that GameCoin announced last week. So one of the ambassador athletes is Jenny Finch. A lot of people may remember that name.
Yeah.
So Jenny was she has been described as the most famous softball player ever. Her jersey's retired by her high school, by the University of Arizona, by her professional fast pitch team. She's in every Hall of Fame. She's been on all the, like, Dancing with the Stars. She was on Celebrity Apprentice. I mean, she's a phenomenal softball player, but also just a very famous woman.
Yeah.
Well, she married Casey Daigle, who's a professional pitcher who's from Sulphur. So they live in Sulphur now. So anyway, Jenny is an ambassador athlete for GameCoin, and she approached the board about making a donation from GameCoin to the Natasha Watley Foundation. Well, Natasha Watley was a teammate of Jenny's on Team USA, and interestingly enough, she had family from Shreveport, and her parents both went to Southern in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
She lives in LA now, incredibly, but Natasha has the Natasha Watley Foundation, and her objective is what you just described, to help young girls grow and develop through softball that otherwise wouldn't be able to play or get coaching or have equipment or gear. And so a $50,000 donation to the Natasha Watley Foundation was massive. I mean, think about the amount of gear they'll be able to buy, the opportunities they'll be able to afford, underprivileged young girls in that area to be able to learn and grow through sport. It's incredible, man. It's just it's just a great thing to be associated with.
No, I agree. And again, women's sports oftentimes don't get enough funding and don't get the big crowds and things at the stadiums. So they could use this, and so that that being something that, like you mentioned, going to women's athletics. I had a good friend. And it's one of those things, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Good friend of mine owns a mortgage company up in Michigan, billion-dollar company, and he donated to all of Michigan State athletics, but he donated to all the male athletic programs. And so he caught a bunch of heat for that, even though he did a great thing and was donating $500 a month to every athlete, but he didn't donate to the female athletes.
Right.
And so, that caused a little bit of a ripple, and I'm sure he's probably going to redo that and put money into the female athletic programs too. But, this going to female athletics, going to underserved youth, and all those areas where it's needed.
The other thing I'd mention too is that if you're listening and you hear us talking and you're thinking, well, I know an organization that could benefit. If you go to the website is thegamecoin.net, thegamecoin.net, thegamecoin.net. There is a tab about the charitable component and how you can
Nominate
submit a request for a grant. So, and all that will be reviewed, and those will be be disseminated as such. But I can tell you that the GameCoin board welcomes that. I mean, they want people. They want to hear people's stories, and I can tell you, if you have a specific ask instead of just a dollar amount, if your batting cages were destroyed in Ida or something like that, if you have a specific request, a lot of times that could be even more impactful, because like, this is where this is going. It's not just an arbitrary amount of money to be, and sometimes it's good. Like, I'll tell you, just full disclosure, the donations to Central Lafourche and South Lafourche was given to be used at their discretion because they had such grand needs. But if you're part of an organization that has a specific need, have a very specific request, and maybe that could help.
That's awesome. I had no idea. Like I said, I'm even learning new things having you on the show tonight. So, guys, I repeat what Matt just said. If you're part of an organization, sports, that could use a donation, you've suffered damages from the storms. I heard a lot of things on the radio recently where once the news left New Orleans, people forgot that New Orleans wasn't even the hardest hit part of Louisiana with Ida. and so Laplace and these smaller towns that were actually decimated, they lost any news coverage once New Orleans was back up and running. So, there's still a lot of people in need out there. And again, this raising the game coin donation to 5%, that puts more money into the charity portion of it. And of course, now as more people start seeing it and as it gets more exposure, I know it was listed as one of the top 100 cryptos recently on, what was that on? That was rankings that they gave.
On CoinMarketCap, which is a website that will list every cryptocurrency by pretty much any measurable, wallet holders, transactions. I checked last week, and Gamecoin, if it were, it's so new that it hasn't even been approved for CoinMarketCap, but it will be. But it would be 64th or 65th. I mean, in the 60s. There are thousands of currencies. It's astonishing that this thing that's 4 months old is not only top 100. It's in the 60s.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible story, man.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic. And like you said, the rapid growth, like with any business, we did. I wish we had the growth this had in a few, but last year, we uncovered things that we had to completely redo all our technology at our office. And when you've got a business that's growing rapidly, this is growing at leaps and bounds. Like I haven't seen anything like this. So, being a local business promoter, that's what I like to do, is promote local businesses. And the beauty of this one is, not only does it benefit the owner of the company, but it's a public thing that anyone can buy. It's like buying stock. So anyone can buy it, and potentially, I use that word because, again, like I said, we're not financial advisors here, but anyone could potentially make money on buying this. And, of course, you're going to a good cause, which is charity for youth athletics and also, a lot of the local schools. And $1 million went to cancer this weekend, donated directly from the board and from Gamecoin's team, not even from the charity funds.
Yeah.
So that's big too. That didn't even dip into the charity funds that were going to the sports athletics. Yeah. That was just from the guys at the top wanting to give to cancer, because we've all suffered from that. So.
Yeah, man. It's my hope is, in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we look all over Baton Rouge and all over the country, and you see the Gamecoin logo attached to so many fields and teams and sports athletics, and you can just see that impact and that legacy.
Well, that's what we hope. Again, financial fitness, I always say health and wealth, the two things most important. And if this can help with the health of youth athletics and funding that's the best thing we could possibly do. So, Matt, thank you for being on the air with us tonight.
My pleasure.
And we thank all of you guys for listening. We're signing off. Have a good night.
Brandon, just before we go off on Facebook Live, clarify that you're not, when you made the analogy of blackjack, that you're not comparing investing in game coin to playing blackjack.
No. I'm just saying you can take your winnings anytime.
That's what you're saying.
Any investment, any stock, any investment, it can go up or down. Just like if you're at a hot table, I use that analogy loosely. Again, if you got a hot hand and you want to pull your money early, we leave that to you guys to decide. We're never going to tell you, here's when you buy and here's where you sell, because that is not what we're here to do. We're just here to tell you guys, again, you can get in or out at any time.
I think the question stems from the fact that some projects might have a minimum buy-in, and some may have a blacklist period where you can't take profits for a certain time.
Right.
That's not the case.
So
there is no minimum buy. And
are we still live on there? You guys who are buyers, you guys are not in that category like the founders of the company or athletes who are ambassadors who have to stay on for a period of so many months before they can sell, because again, those are the founders of the company or paid athletes who are part of the platform. anyone who's just buying it, you guys can get in and out whenever you want.